What is up, YouTube? That's here, and today I'm proud to announce my return to Draft League once again. The next Draft League that I'll be taking part in is Low Tier Mayhem Season 2. Bunch of really cool coaches in this league. We can see the full roster right here. I will just say that I am the last pick in this draft. I'm the 20 slot. There's 20 coaches, some of the best singles players you're ever going to see. I think it starts off in like the top left. I know OG Albina is one of the owners of this league. I know they're like third or fourth pick. So it goes like all these top coaches at the top and then down the lines, and it kind of ends up with me, which means I get 2 picks back to back in draft. I think this is now my 4th draft league. I did WBE, I did UNPL, I did SPL, and now I'm doing another singles league, which is going to be Low Tier Mayhem. If you guys like this draft league content, you want to show some support for the channel, think about dropping a sub. We're going to be uploading these every single Saturday, and what we're doing today is going over my team and showing a little bit about the rules of this format, because this isn't just like an OU week. There's a little bit of a twist. That's why it's called the Low Tier Mayhem. So what we're going to be doing right now is kind of just showing a little bit of the mons available in this draft. It's only going to be Pokemon that are like underutilized, right? So like the best Pokemon in this draft are going to be things like Azelf, Gengar. There's no Ubers here. There's no Urshifus. There's no Blood Moons. Like no Darkrai's. Like you're safe. Like the best Pokemon in the format is honestly Terrakion, in my opinion, which is awesome because it's like one of my favorite Pokemon. And when I was shown this league and told like the mons were in it, I'm like, yo, this league's like the best mons, Terrakion and Azelf, like 2 of my absolute favorites. Of course I'm gonna sign up. And then I got given last pick, so no way in heck I was getting any of these things. But that being said, the way this draft's gonna work is every single coach gets 1 turn of picks, and you go through until you get like 12 picks. And since I'm the 25th pick, I get 2 picks back to back. So bunch of really cool Pokemon in this draft. I think yeah, I think there's a lot of Rockmons here. Can you guys notice that? Notice a little pattern like Rockmon, Ground Darkmon that also gets like Rock Slide. Like Rockmon uses rock moves, you know. So I was thinking to myself, like, if it's all Rockmons, Flying Mons are going to be disincentivized to some extent. Ground moves are going to be great in this draft. Like, honestly, like, I was looking at, like, Dugtrio, right? Arena Trap's banned, but, like, Dugtrio still actually cooks, like, all of these Pokemon. And Dugtrio's only, like, 3 points in this draft. Bunch of really cool Pokemon. And it lets us, like, showcase some of, like, the more underutilized Pokemon. So let's talk about my draft and kind of get into this and see if I drafted the right mons for this core. Now, like I said, I was a really late pick. I was the last pick, which means by the time it was up to me to pick, these were all gone. These were like all gone except for like 1 or 2. And people were even dipping into these over here for their picks. So I was thinking to myself, like, okay, I need something that lets me dictate the play of the game. My last singles draft league, the UMPL, I didn't have like a good enough lead that let me dictate play. So I really thought back to my roots as a singles player. You know, I've been playing competitive singles in tournaments since Gen 3. I've never stopped playing singles, but that does mean that I'm very dated in what I really like. And so I drafted a Pokemon that goes back to my roots. Like if Azelf's off the board, we're kicking it old school. We're going Gen 4 style. It's going to be Staraptor. It's going to be the big Staraptor, popping it out for my very first pick. And you're probably thinking like, that's it. You literally just got done saying that like flying types are going to be garbage, right? There's all these rock moves. Like, what are you doing? Flying types are going to be garbage. Yeah, well, this thing gets close combat, right? So it gets close combat, it gets U-turn, it gets intimidate. Bunch of really cool stuff. I think most people, when they think of Staraptor, the reason why it's so high rated on this list too is because it gets reckless. Like it's a 15-point Pokemon. If you take a look like Showdown here and plug in Staraptor here, it's a really good mon. It gets base 100 speed, 120 base attack, and a lot of people like to use it with reckless to be able to go for like, you know, massive like Brave Birds and like double edges, right? This is what people like to do with this mon. 1.2 boost, right? That's not what we did back in the day. Back in the day, you put Intimidate on this thing because hidden abilities did not exist in Gen 4. You slapped your Choice Scarf on this guy, right? And you clicked Intimidate, lead into U-turn to start your engine, right? That is how Staraptor should be played. These Gen Z takes with their reckless Staraptor. Those people probably aren't even like Gen Z. I don't know what these takes are. I'm playing my Boomer Staraptor strats out here, and I think it's gonna be really good. I probably might dip into reckless like a little bit, but honestly, like fast Intimidator with really good offensive coverage. Straptor fills a ton of roles and lets me get that flying type like out of the way immediately so I can avoid all the earthquakes, because I think there are going to be like a lot of earthquake mons in this format. They're going to be very viable. So Straptor being able to come in and not only avoid that damage and intimidate them, I think it makes it a really, really good first pick. Now, remember, like I said, I get 2 picks back to back, right? So what is my second pick? Looking at what is here, I want something that has a good matchup into like everything in this area. So I was really drafting to counter like, oh, you guys can't see what I'm talking about. I wanted something that could check like all of these, you know, like something could check Gengar, something could check Crocodile, all these like rock mons over here. You're going to notice a pattern here. There's one mon that I think is going to slide under people's radar that I think is going to be absolutely amazing in this draft. This is probably going to end up being my MVP, right? I might be going on a limb here, but I think it might be my MVP, and that's going to be Gardevoir. I think Gardevoir is actually really good in this draft. It's a lot of points, right? It's a lot of points. Gardevoir is still 15 points, just like Straptor. That's one of the values of being like the flex pick at the very end. I get 2 picks, and so I was able to grab 2 15-point Pokemon. Gardevoir is neutral or better into Azelf. It's good into Gengar, even though we have the weakness to both of Gengar's typing. We're super effective against Gengar. And Gengar also can't Terra. Not all these mons can Terra, and you can only Terra with like a certain amount of mons. You have up to 24 points to Terrastalize some of your mons. So you can have like up to 3 Terra captains on your team. You can only Terrastalize once per game, and it is open Terra, so your opponent knows where those Terras are before matches start. But looking at this, like Gardevoir is good here, 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 here. I drafted it. It's not that great here, but like we get coverage. Great here. Not so great here. Very bad here. But like good here, good here, good here, good here. I drafted this one, so you can't check me with it, right? And so I'm just like, dang, dude, Gardevoir like actually cooks. You got like sash sets. There's so many different things you can do with Gardevoir. And I think it really just suits my play style and how I like to play the game, the tempo that I like to play the game. There's so much tech. Synchronize is good. Trace is good. Telepathy is not usable really here, but there's a lot of tech with Gardevoir, and I don't want to show any of my cards since I am going to be going up against OG Albina in the very first week, but be on the lookout for some of my Gardevoir strats. You know, you guys have seen some of the videos on my channel featuring Gardevoir. I am a pretty sneaky little guy, so if the Gardevoir is hitting the field, you best believe you about to be getting sauced on. So it's a pretty cool mon. I think it's time to show my next mon. My next mon, what do you guys think it is? Survey says Regieleki. Now, Regieleki is a really, really cool pick. It did get nerfed going into Scarlet and Violet. Its transistor went from a 1.5 to a 1.3 boost. That being said, I actually think that Regieleki is like one of the best Pokemon in this draft. You saw that I had 2 15-point Pokemon, Gardevoir and Staraptor, right? And then all the way down here in 7-point hell is Regieleki? Like, I'm not wrong here. This mon is still an Uber. Like, what? Even with the nerf to Transistor, you can build this physical or special. It has the right stats. It's a spinner, right? Like, what? This mon is, like, so cracked, and it can't Terra. It's blocked from being a Terra Captain, so you can't double dip that electric. And the reason why it's not ranked that high, I think, is because in a draft, you know, they got, like, 12 picks. They're going to have a ground type, which means Regieleki really sad. But like, bro, this Pokemon is so good. I third picked it. I was just like, nah, like we're gonna pick Regieleki. I think it is such a good mon. I think it's gonna keep my opponents a lot very honest in their speed tierings. Like, one thing I noticed in UMPL is I had a moderately fast team, but what I noticed is like there are people drafting like double scarf, triple scarf against me, and I'm like, get that out of here, bro. Like, nah, don't catch me with that. The double, triple scarf teams. Right? And I didn't like that, right? Regieleki says, like, you can't do that. I don't care if you're scarfed. I'm literally still faster than you. So it should disincentivize that. Because it's just so annoying to play against that sort of stuff when you fight, like, multiple scarf user, you know, race to the finish team. So I think Regieleki keeps our opponent honest. It gives us a spinner and gives us a good, like, revenge KO / like, weed. You can see we also have, like, a little bit of synergy going here with, like, U-turns, right? U-turn, Volt Switch, right? We got a little bit of Volt Turn team going on over here. I think there's a lot to do with Regieleki. Let me know if you guys think Regieleki is a good pickup in the comments. Let me know if you think Regieleki is a steal at 7 points, because I definitely think that it is. We're going to go into our next pick here, and that's going to be my Terra Captain. This is one of my 2 Terra Captains, and that is Slitherwing. Now, Slitherwing, it's a complicated mon, right? Has a lot of weaknesses. It's a Paradox Pokemon, which means it can utilize Photosynthesis to boost, realistically, any of these stats. You can even get a speed boost or a special attack boost on this thing if you EV train it correctly, which is very, very cool. That being said, Slitherwing is a lot of points. Slitherwing was a lot of points. So Slitherwing is 13 down here, right? But if you make it your Terra Captain, you got to pay 18 points for it. So realistically, this is my most expensive Pokemon at 18 points. I think you had like 100 something points to go with. That being said, Slitherwing is so cool, right? I think it's a really, really good Pokemon. Some of you guys have probably seen how I've played Slitherwing in the past. There are videos of me using Slitherwing. It's really, really cool. I think it gets a bunch of fun options. It gets access to moves like First Impression, and then you can U-turn out, but then also gets access to like Close Combat and other stuff like that. You can also make it like a full bulk set with things like Bulk Up and Morning Sun, right? And just make it like play for value with like Leech Life. That's one of my favorite sets. So I think this mon is very, very cool. The fact that I can Terastallize it to get rid of that 4 times weakness to flying and, you know, my weakness to fire and all these other things like that. I think there's a lot of cool things for Slitherwing. This mon is probably going to be the one mon that everyone's trying to check when they're building my teams. And that's fine. I think Slitherwing's rad. Someone had to pick it up. I'm glad it was me. I couldn't believe that like Regieleki and Slitherwing both fell to me after my first pick of like Staraptor Gardevoir. They got all the way back to me. I was like, bro, these are a steal. I actually deviated my draft to pick up both of these guys. I wanted Mimikyu in the kind of set up Slitherwing slot. And I managed to get it back, and I was like, whoa, that's like absolutely ridiculous. I can't believe how lucky and fortunate I am. So Slitherwing's really, really cool. Great shiny as well. So yeah, Slitherwing's, it doesn't even show the shiny on Showdown SMH. Great mon. I'm a big fan of Slitherwing, and I'm excited to use it. So many different things. I really like that we're doing a bunch of fun stuff with this team so far. But that being said, it's time to show you guys a cool mon. Now, it wouldn't be a That's Plus One draft if we didn't have something like this. And you may be realizing a pattern here. Well, let's just get into it. Blissey. It's Blissey, right? It's gonna be Blissey here. Blissey's the next one on our list. You know, I had to be busting out the big Blissey. I always take my Blissey, man. Blissey and That's Plus One go together like peas in a pod. Blissey's absolutely amazing. Blissey is... I felt so bad about giving my Blissey back in UMPL when I transition and went away to like that sand team, but like I really like Blissey with like Serene Grace, like Ice Beam Thunders, stuff like that. It's a great rock setter as well. It gets access to Serene Grace and Natural Cure, which are both very, very good. Blissey was, I think, like 8 points. And I don't even know if Blissey's that great. And like honestly, like my team, normally when I draft Blissey, I draft it because my opponents I usually draft Blissey because all my other teams like heavily special, and if by drafting Blissey they can't counter me. But like my team's not weak to Blissey, so like I just took it because I like it. I don't really like fighting against Blissey all that often, and it's a fun mon. I think it's like a staple around here, so we had to pick up the Blissey. And let's talk about the next one, because there's a strategy here with this Blissey here. The next mon is... there it is, the big Zoroark here. So other than Staraptor, which I already talked about, one use Intimidate, it can use Reckless. All of my Pokemon do not activate abilities upon being sent out. Gardevoir has like Trace and, you know, other stuff like that. Regieleki has Transistor. Photosynthesis on Slitherwing. If I'm not using a booster energy, I don't have to activate an ability. Blissey has, you know, a Natural Cure and Serene Grace. So Zoroark is perfect here, and I'm the Zoroark Master Extraordinaire. I drafted it in UMPL, I drafted it in SPL, I use it in VGC and singles all the time. This is my guy. I really wanted to be able to make this thing a Terra Captain, but I just didn't have the points. Zoroark's a really, really cool mon, though. It gets a bunch of fun tools. One of my absolute favorites. So Zoroark's really cool. And Zoroark's going to be hard to use in this draft because, like, if we take a look at, like, all these other, like, really, really good mons in the draft, like, Zoroark's kind of bad into, like, most of these, but I feel like Zoroark's going to be, like, feasting on the stuff like around here. That's the idea for Zoroark, right? So hopefully Zoroark gets a little bit of a cleanup, but yeah, Zoroark gets the illusion, which means it can disguise as anything. And so if people think I'm leading with Regieleki and, you know, I'm going to be using Volt Switch and, you know, Zoroark kind of just comes in here and says like, it's not Regieleki, it's Zoroark. And you pivot to your ground type and I just want to absolutely dump truck it with like a Choice Specs Night Days. That's on you, bro. Like, get on my level. Zoroark's just my guy. Like, Zoroark's super cool. I'm excited to use it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And it's one of those mons that just makes drafting a lot of fun for me. You know, I feel like I'm one of the more creative guys with Zork. A good example of like a cool thing we can do with this team is like, I can have a mon go for like, actually, I'll talk about it after we show the next pick. Let's show the next pick and we'll talk about a cool thing we can do. One cool thing we can do is go like Final Gambit with the Staraptor. Let's just talk about that. We can go Final Gambit here, right? I can go Final Gambit with the Staraptor, die, come in with Blissey, and then copycat that Final Gambit. That's kind of cool. I did that in the UMPL. We can do the same thing with Zork, because it also gets copycat. It doesn't have a very high base HP, but we can technically do it. There's a better move, though, that we can copycat. Now let's take a look at our next pick. It's Torterra. Maybe think Torterra is a bit of a weird one here. A little bit, you know, left field pick for me. But we did need a grass type, and we did need a ground type. And I think that Torterra is a good mixture of like setup mons with good defensive typing. I wanted a grass type also that let me just have a ground resist. I wanted that ground resist. I could have drafted another flying type or something here, but I wanted something that also didn't take super effective rocks damage. So I think Torterra is a really, really good option here. If we take a look at Torterra, it gets a bunch of cool stuff. Torterra gets like obvious setup moves like Stealth Rock. You know, it gets like Stealth Rock here. It gets access to Shell Smash. One really cool thing we can do is if I wanted to run like an eject pack Torterra, I could Shell Smash here. And at the end of after the Shell Smash, it would proc the eject pack, and I'd be able to go into my Zoroark and click Copycat, and then Copycat, since the last move that was used, if Zoroark's faster than my opponent, was Shell Smash, it would use Shell Smash, right? That's sick. That's the sort of stuff that we're bringing to this draft. The copycat strats and the illusion confusions we're gaming out here. I think Torterra is actually just a really, really fun mon. It gets access to like Synthesis and like Leech Seed and stuff too. So I really like this mon. You know, it's one of my absolute favorite starters of all time. I've used a lot of Torterra over the years. One of my favorite sets actually is just Choice Scarf Torterra. You can get just fast enough if you want to go like a full special attack Torterra and rock a Choice Scarf on it to actually outspeed things. So really, really cool mon, getting like Wood Hammer and good coverage with Earthquake. So I think it's a fun mon. Shell Smash was a major boost to it, and I think the fact that we also have like loaded dice and stuff like now, it's a great mon. I think Torterra is going to be a lot of fun to play with. I wish I had the resources to make this guy a Terra Captain, but I do not. That being said, here's our draft so far. We are pretty balanced. We have a little bit more aggression than walls. We have like 1.5 walls. We have Blissey and Torterra. But that being said, I'm still going to draft more aggressive Pokemon because that's a +1 draft. So our next Pokemon is going to be fighting fire with fire. It's Johto Typhlosion. Like this is me. Like, a lot of you guys that are probably watching this are probably watching this as members of like the draft community, but like this is what I am on a plate, right? You got the aggressive Volt turns, the 1 to 2 defensive walls, and like the weird tech like mixed with like weird speed tiers. Like this guy gets Flash Fire, which is why it's so good on this team because our Slithering and our Torterra really, really need that fire coverage. But like Typhlosion's just an absolutely amazing mon. If we plug this guy in here, bam, rocking that big Flash Fire. Massive eruption here. I love Typhlosion. I'm very happy I was able to pick this guy up. It's one of my favorite leads in the game. I love just leading Typhlosion and being like, I'm clicking eruption, bro. Like, that's happening. You can pivot into something like a water type that can mitigate some damage, and that's fine. You're gonna have to show me your item, and then I pivot out, and then we start the game. It's the same as starting off with Staraptor, but I don't have to show my speed tier based off I can intimidate, and I can just threaten to KO something right off the rip. It basically says turn 1. It's kind of like, you know when people lead in singles and they lead like turn 1 and they're like, hey, we can trade rocks, right? And then one guy sometimes leads with like an Azelf, and you're like, we're gonna trade rocks, right? And the Azelf just like taunts you. With Typhlosion, you can't rocks me. I'm gonna click Eruption, which means you just have to switch, which means I stick damage and I scout to see if you have lefties. So it's like a really aggressive way to play. It's definitely like a win more option, but it lets me set the tempo of the game right from the start. It's a great revenge KO mon. I love this guy. Typhlosion is one of my absolute favorites, and I think it fits very well on our team. We don't have that big of a rocks weakness. Like, yes, Staraptor and Typhlosion have rocks weakness, but like a lot of our mons take rocks neutral or resisted. So I think we're going to be okay on hazard prevention. I know like hazard prevention is going to be really, really big in this draft. A lot of people are taking like multiple spinners, defoggers. Currently our only way of getting rid of hazards is Regieleki, but we have a couple other picks. So let's get into them. Let's get into the next of our picks, and that's going to be Medicham. Medicham, huh? You're like, wait, why are you drafting Medicham? I was getting low on points, and I got a lot of picks sniped. I'm gonna tell you honestly, for real, I got a lot of picks sniped. Medicham is my other Terra captain, so Medicham can Terra, but I think Medicham's actually like a really usable Pokemon. I think it was only like 4 or 5 points. This guy gets a lot of cool tech. Pure Power doubles its attack stat, which means like this 60 base is a 120. It's really, really strong. Gets a ton of coverage moves. Can be scarfed, can be sashed. Really, really cool stuff. And then if we compare it to like what else is in this draft, Medicham with like speed control checks a lot of these. Did you guys notice that? Like Medicham can work here, 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 here. I have this Pokemon, you see what I mean? It works here, it can technically work there, works there. I can make it work here, right? Works there. I have this one. Do you see how that works? You see how Medicham just like, oh, huh. It's a great cleanup mon. It's also a great mon to regain tempo control with. If like I can get rid of hazards and stuff for a while, I can come with the Medicham that's like sashed and be like, okay, just gonna stop the bleeding, break something, and then like go for like a bullet punch or like just a little bit of damage on the next guy that comes out to then regain my footing in a game. I think it's just a really, really good mon. I think just having like access to good sash mons is nice. And I think Medicham it's similar to Gardevoir. Did you kind of notice that like not only that they're psychic, but like Gardevoir is my sash mon that can do a bunch of weird, cheeky, tricky things you have to really spend a lot of resources respecting. Medicham's the same thing, roughly same base speed, but physical. So I got the special one and the physical one, and they all have all the wild and crazy like encore weird moves that like come with being a psychic type. And I think psychic types are really good in this draft. And honestly, like the dark types that are around, like we have Zoroark that we can check, Staraptor with the close combat pins them. Like I think we have good coverage, right? I think we have the right speed tiers to punish the things that we're weak against. And Medicham is just like, honestly, like I'm super excited to use Medicham. I think Medicham and Zoroark are amazing defensively. Like disguising Zoroark as Medicham is absolutely amazing, and I think people are not going to be ready for that. So really, really cool mon. We're going to take a look at the next mon. We have 2 more mons left, but let me know what you think of the draft so far. Our next mon. This is the mon that no one expected me to draft, and no one like said anything when I drafted it. But this is going to be the reason why we're either making playoffs or crashing and burning. Because no one has seen how I play this Pokemon in singles ever. It's Smeargle. Alright, so you're thinking, again, all my Pokemon, other than the Straptor, who does have Reckless, don't show their abilities upon being sent out. Zoroark can disguise itself as any of these Pokemon. Smeargle is about to break the game. There are so many moves that Zoroark can now bluff, and then the way to beat Smeargle is to attack it, right? You got to attack it, like and then Zoroark just punishes, and then the real Smeargle's back there, and then now your Smeargle check's gone, or a way to beat Smeargle is to taunt it, and when you taunt the Zoroark, you need like the Specs Night Days. It's like, no, this is so good. There are moves that are banned in this draft. You can't use like Shed Tail or Oko moves, but like, there's a lot of really good moves. Like if I was talking about how Medicham can be really good with speed control. I can put Sticky Web on my Smeargle, or I can make it a Rocks user, or I can make it a Rapid Spinner and then get the +1 speed boost and start sporing things. There's the old school sleep cause. You can put one thing to sleep. Do you see how like Smeargle is like the Swiss Army knife that this team really needs to give someone like me, who's a little bit creative, that likes to think outside the box, an outlet to win any game? Remember how I said most of our mons have access to Copycat, and that was deliberate, like the Blissey and the Zoroark and a couple other mons? Smeargle is the mon that lets us use those. There's something here. I'm going to do some things that people have never done before. I do not want to get into my bag of tricks yet, but if you think you know what this Smeargle is going to do, and you're my opponent and you're watching this, you have no idea how bad it's going to be for you. You better taunt it. You better taunt it. That's all I got to say. You better taunt it. So Smeargle's a really cool mon. I'm happy to pick it up. And yeah, I think it's going to be really fun drafting Zoroark and Smeargle. Those guys go together so well. I don't know how I was allowed to get this thing, but we're in for a good time. So Smeargle's a really cool mon. I think it was like 2 points. This is the last mon in the draft for me. It's going to be Lurantis. Yeah, I ended up getting another grass type. I needed another spinner, honestly. Like, I had Regieleki and Smeargle as, like, my potential hazard removal. I wanted, like, one more Mon. Like, if we plug in, like, you know, some of our Mons here. If we plug in the Lurantis, which is right here, it gets access to Defog, right? So, it can remove hazards, but also at the same time, it has Contrary, which is another ability that doesn't activate upon being sent out. Disincentivizes, intimidates. Know what I'm saying? It gets access to, like, Synthesis. And then also, you can just use, like, the standard superpower stuff. Like, superpower is going to give me attack and defense boosts. And then it gets, like, Leech Life. So, I think that, like, if you see me play this, I'm probably just going to be dropping a set kind of like this. Against, like, matchups where hazards are really, really important. But that being said, I think Lurantis is, like, a usable Mon. Good base stats, pretty slow. Like, I like Lurantis. I wanted to make this guy a Terra Captain. I really wanted to. I just didn't have the resources. I think Terra Slitherwing is good. Like, I have a lot of flying weakness. Have you noticed that? I have the Slitherwing, the Torterra, the Medicham, the Lurantis. There's a lot of flying weakness. But that being said, if you went back to the start of the draft, let's go take a look at it. I said that rock types are going to be really, really good. That's going to disincentivize a lot of flying types. So this Jugulus gets flying, right? But then, like, there's not that much other flying. I don't know if Moltres was drafted. Skarmory, we can check, but, like, there's not that much other flying coverage, right? So I think we're going to be okay. And then I also want to talk about the fact that, like, two of those Mons that we drafted, being the Medicham and the Slitherwing, which have some of the same weaknesses, being flying, they're both Terra Captains, so one of them is going to be able to Terastallize away into something else that can, you know, resist that, hopefully. So, that being said, this is the draft. What do you think? What do you think about my team? I actually think I have a really, really cool team, and I'm excited to play this draft. I'm excited to see how I stack up against some of the best singles players. I will say, I looked at all of the matchups that I have. I have the hardest draft. I have, like, the hardest opponents out of everyone in the whole league. You can quote me on it. Like, out of all the different people in the draft, I have, like, by far the hardest line. It is so stupid. Like, I don't even know how that happened, but, like, you could not give me, like, 8 harder people to play against. So shout outs to all the coaches. Every one of the coaches is good, but I was just like, man, this is going to be really hard. Like I said, I fight OG Albina first, and I fight Viz second. If that doesn't tell you, like, how hard my run is going to be, I don't know what to tell you. If we take a look at the UMPL, I think it was like 6 or 7 rounds or whatever. I think, what was that? I think 5 or 6 of my 8 rounds were the people in the top 8, right? It was ridiculous. All of the top 4 were people I played, right? And so I think I have what it counts to, like, hang with these people. I got playoffs. I got to the playoffs of UNPL and SPL. So I'm learning more about draft as we go, but I'm also really just trying to draft Mons that we like. Oh, I wasn't showing the freaking coaches, Lamau. Yeah, there's so many good coaches in this draft. Right, we have, like, I've said I play OG Albina and Viz. Everyone here is, like, really, really stacked. I've been checking out a bunch of their content. This is just going to be a hard one. I think if I can get, like, I think there's, like, 8 weeks. Honestly, if I can have a good time and go, like, 3 and 5, that's fine. I think I could potentially go into a 6-2. There are 2 of these that I don't really think I'm going to be able to win. I'm going to try my best, but we have a really cool, fun, and creative team, and I just want to play draft with Mons that I like. I think that's going to be a really important thing for me doing well, is taking a look at all of my options and using them to, like, solve for X, and every one of these is really cool, and getting access to, like, Zoroark and Smeargle and, like, Medicham and Gardevoir. Give me the tech to hopefully have outs into any matchup. That's what I'm hoping for. That being said, these matches are going to go up every single Saturday, I believe, on this channel. So think about dropping a sub. And little reminder here that we're still trying to, you know, make a bunch of content on this channel work. If we take a look at the channel right here, we're dropping Nuzlocke uploads, 6v6 singles. We're going to be dropping some 3v3 singles. We have just a bunch of fun stuff happening here. We play a bunch of other formats. So if you guys like this content and you want to see stuff, this is where the games are going to go. The singles channel. I don't know if people expected this to go on my VGC channel, but that's a VGC channel. This is the singles one. It says singles battles. So this is where all this stuff's going to go. And, yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you're excited for this draft. Let me know what Pokemon is your favorite in this draft and which one you think is going to be my MVP. Let me know in the comments below. And other than that, peace out. I'll see you guys next time.